Let's imagine one day you're waking up and grabbing your phone rapidly to see how many likes you received on your recent modeling posts, when instead an emergency was going on with your family and you weren't even aware of it. Social media has probably entered your life at some point, and it has caused some controversy over the last few years. Research has suggested that the constant scrolling can not only be addicting, but can be detrimental to your mental health and deteriorates the relationships that surround you. I could especially understand what the constant scrolling is like, as my generation has one of the most addicting statistics to social media. Social media has taken over our world as more and more teens seek it for validation, which has plummeted teens' mental health and self-esteem. Social media has not only taken our adolescence, but has caused some serious things in regards to emotional well-being, psychological side of things, and how it's limiting our social interactions. So before we dive in, I want to talk about the negative outcomes social media causes and how the opposing side of this claim would be incorrect. So as we have seen, social media has definitely been on the rise over these last few years, which has increased levels of anxiety, depression, and self-isolation. According to the Journal of Clinical and Social Psychology, they stated that reducing social media by 30 minutes can improve effects of self-isolation and anxiety and depression. This is quite impressive, as if we teach our children to make this small step in the right direction, it can really make the difference. So I urge you to have conversations with your children on creating healthy habits, because once a child is fully emerged, it is really difficult to drag them out of it. Larger corporations that are targeting youth are created to be addicting. The endless notifications, follow requests, and scrolling that never ends are a psychological trap that sends teens into a loophole they cannot escape. When this occurs, dopamine, which is also known as the pleasure hormone, keeps teens focused for hours on end, and they feel trapped. So to fix this, parents can limit their screen time on their children's phones by downloading an app. So although this won't fix the problem, it can lead us to the right direction and not have their kids have their heads buried in the device. So before we go into our last point, we're going to be talking about how it limits our relationships. So according to Google design ethicist Tristan Harris, they suggest social media is a race to the bottom of the brainstem. So social media does limit our relationships, social interactions, and how we behave honestly. Moreover, adolescents compare themselves to unrealistic body standards, which ultimately leads to this depression. Children need to understand that everyone's unique and each person characterizes their own traits. We are human, and not everyone's going to be the same. However, there are some individuals who still do not understand this viewpoint. As we know, social media has become an outlet for communication. However, the connection that we are used to seeing is not the communication that is happening. When different symbols start appearing and interfering with conversations, someone at the end of the day is in fact suffering. This is not only sad, but looking at this is happening more frequently as apps are making it more immersive, new updates, and allow events to keep the cycle going. Social media can spread awareness, but like we have mentioned, someone is getting affected at the end of the day. From my local church last Sunday, I have learned that children and teenagers around the globe are tapping their phones 150,000 times on average. Just let that sink in for a moment. In spending about 2 hours and 22 minutes daily, which is a minimum. I personally think kids are too engaged with what they're seeing online and creating these unrealistic standards. They do need to come to a conclusion at the end of the day that sharing a post does not always correlate to real life change. And before we get to our last point, so on the contrary, while some individuals suggest that it may be the person controlling the phone that causes harm, which may be true, but I strongly believe that it's more of the company that is causing our children to be like this. Oops. So, as we dive into our next point, I want you to think to yourself what we can do to change our children and create healthy habits. First, there's more to the world than just technology. Instead, playing sports, interacting, or reading books, limiting screen time can make their minds more well-versed. So parents, let's think about improving our children's mental health. Let's see how much they're really spending on technology and less time on the outside world. So, to wrap things up, we talked about how social media can alter with mental health, stimulates addiction, and interferes with relationships. So we should teach children to create healthy habits so they do not fall back in the loop again. So the next time you're reaching for your phone, I want you to think for a second. Are you reaching your phone for a reason or for validation?